And we're just going to settle into the breath. We're going to breathe right into the hara and the root chakra. So you've got your vertical pillar, your hara line, and then your root chakra at the bottom. We're going to pull the focus up underneath the feet here and under the sit bones and just start drawing up a rich ruby light into the body, up underneath the feet. And as we connect to this ruby, we're also connecting into the sands of time and the Giza location of ancient Egypt or Egypt. Imagery of the Sphinx, aquamarine, Sophianic flower geometry, resetting underneath the Sphinx. Opening Mother Arc Gate, transdimensional, transharmonic gate system. And as we open this pillar, thousands of harp notes just begin to play. And just hear the chords being strung along the harps. Correcting the harmonic interface. Planetary. The planetary sound tones. Na okya korajenya okurash na okya korajenya okya. Nice and soft. The great white lion. Consciousness grid. Divine Mother. And the many layers of the divine feminine consciousness. And as this great white lion grid illuminates, this divine feminine consciousness seems to click and reset the geometric structures in place. And then many iterations of the feminine and many fractals of diamond geometry open. And then hordes of divine feminine beings step forward and begin to sing. It looks and feels as though the divine feminine soul template is being rebuilt or reconstructed with new anchor points of higher love, higher feminine compositions building down and into the planetary system, and in turn, updating your personal divine feminine body and blueprint. So we allow the chords to be sung, allow them to express, allow them to be said, and rotating the viewpoint into a multi-tonal, multi-hued lotus spinning through center, which opens the channels vertically to the higher heavens and the higher mother presence. Unsealing confusion, as the feminine currents build much stronger upon the planetary interface, as they interlink with the horizontal masculine ley lines that are Diana Okyokurajena Okura, or axiom, I don't know how to call these, Diana Okyokurajena Okuria. It's like a horizontal, the horizontal ley lines that are the masculine ley lines basically, versus the vertical ley lines, which I would see as more feminine. Click reset, update, and allow the joins at the nodes of the intersections illuminate through the axis intercepts. The ley lines begin to turn gold. And the feminine begins to recode as they interlink in with the masculine, updating through planetary hierogamic joins. Supporting the next layer of sacred marriage, divine architecture. As we observe the update, just allow this to recode through the spinal column. Na okiakratia no okura, shnokiakratia okura. An update between the masculine and feminine polarities within your own field. Developing the personal sacred marriage current. Okay. And as this sacred marriage begins to build within, this then triggers separation, opposition, polarity, and discomfort and um, divorce, let's say, anti-herogamic information to trigger and come to the surface. Okay. So as the layers of um, anti-herogamic information begins to surface, I'm drawn into the Michael Mary turnstile grid, or the Michael Mary Canadian grid, let's say, because it is around through that location. And what is being highlighted within this, there's actually two grids that's being highlighted here. One of which is the Michael Mary turnstile, the other one is the Nephilim reversal grid. And the Michael Mary turnstile is hosting a whole load of kind of aggressor energetics that are stemming through AI. It's like a red wave or an artificial red wave turnstile matrix that is creating separation and deunification between the masculine and feminine current. So we're just going to observe this for a moment and then get into the Nephilim reversal. So the initial levels of this is presenting as a thick blackout presentation. And then as we go into the blackout presentation, we're just going to start illuminating with source light with a diamond lattice through the blackness. And the deeper we go into the blackness, the more it pulls up an engineered aggression or hostility of a masculine pushing towards the feminine. So there's this kind of emasculating towards the feminine consciousness, or this, what's the right word for this? Dana akia kratenya kurashnakia kratya. It's a bit like a kind of dominant bully, really, that's engineered within this kind of artificial turnstile grid. And all of my right arm has just gone very, very painful. All the nerves down my elbow and into my wrist and into my hand. And just starting to project in unconditional love through this energetic, through this artificial waveform as well. And allowing the unconditional love just to flourish through the energetic to start to, number one, open the information, which is how we kind of pull ourselves out of when the consciousness gets pulled into these kind of locations or grids. It starts to kind of wreak havoc within the lower subconscious and the autonomic nervous system. We want to gain awareness of its attribute to be able to recognize it in one's own field, however that may look, and then identify to be able to pull back the essence as to how it's been kind of ensnared or entrapped within it. And fundamentally, this comes down from layers upon layers upon layers of religious dogmatic conditioning and programming, and also kind of uh, predatorial consciousness that is within the digressed masculine template. That will be leached in or seeded into each and every one that has their part to play to work it out, to repair and restore the masculine blueprint of uh, the patriarchal masculine lineage. So we just allow this to open. The right side of the body is just going through an expansion, contraction momentum up over the right side of the head and behind the right eye. It's becoming very tight there. And a heightened level of shock and pain, processing through the back right side of the face. And now through the heart, and then layers upon layers of fear, dread, terror, deconstructing within this grid. So where we brought in the diamond lattice, we're then just going to connect through to the solar logos, the solar grid, or the solar gate, which actually intercepts through the Giza gate because they run between each other. And we're going to anchor the solar consciousness into this diamond lattice. And as this solar consciousness connects into the diamond lattice, I'm then just getting imagery of as if people are becoming awake, people are becoming aware, as if a mind control sensor had just been kind of turned off. which is then raising back awareness. And my heart is really hurting right now. So we just continue with the process, holding love in the heart. And as this awakening occurs, the feminine steps forward and begins to grieve. The masculine, not fully conscious or aware of what has gone on and what has happened, though still holding a level of consciousness. So there is um, atonement to take place. But the feminine able to actually connect and communicate with the masculine this time. Releasing victimization, confusion, anger, and a stream of gold connecting the feminine into the masculine current as an energetic exchange of information and a building of atonement through the polarity and an exchange of energetic information through the sacred marriage network. Surrender, Star of David, Merkaba, white diamond Merkaba spinning, opening the left side body, opening the blackness of the field where the masculine had belittled and put down the feminine, which created a digressive belief system within the feminine consciousness due to years upon years upon years of abuse. And we're looking at this not just on this planet, but we're looking at it from the perspective of the planet here. It goes much older than that. Release of nauseousness, release of control, release of loss of power, accruing power back to the feminine through masculine atonement and awareness of abuse, awareness of own action and the cause and effect, a sequence of apology and forgiveness, building the connection between the Michael Mary wing and unlocking the artificial intelligence that is perpetuating the segregation and the uh, mistreatment of the female. So we're looking at this as a kind of seeing a feminine as a breeder or breeding program, or seeing them as less than the masculine. So the inequality programming that has been running through the planetary system over and over and over again. And just correction through to the Great White Lion Mother Consciousness Grid, or the Elo High Grid. And this then starts to engage and awaken the Golden Eagle grid, which is the masculine grid. It's the Seraphim consciousness grid, which was heavily impacted by draconic hybridization and other kind of negative alien infiltrations like the Zetas and things like that to corrupt the masculine current. Okay. So we just allow this great white line to open and expand and begin to relay the information through to the great white line, sorry, the golden eagle grid. For one to become receptive to the other, which is then bridging the awareness through the sacred blue cow grid, Dana Akia Karatea, which is the indigo grid. It's the indigo consciousness grid. Dana Akia Karatea Namo Tupuyo Sho Okura Shana Akia Karatenya Okura. Okay, what's the correlation between this? Ah, interesting. Okay, so this is actually acting as the child between the mother and the father and the child. We then just allow the balancing of the parental structure of the planetary field. To relay the support system back to the indigo, or what would be the indigo starseed, or light worker, through this network, which then updates into the receptive ones as the mother, father are able to nourish and support the child, the sacred blue cow. And just decompressing the trauma between the planetary structure. Which activates and charges the grids, and then in turn the indigos, and well, all beings really on here. So my next question would be, how does this impact the universal field? Which is interesting because I'm seeing it as if the parental and child structure acts as a kind of strengthening to the family unit, which then upfolds into the higher planes and higher levels, which then basically echoes through the galactic warfare, echoes through the invasion in which they wanted to destabilize the family, they wanted to isolate the family, which we do also see playing out on the in the physical form as well. The breakdown of the family unit, the abuse towards the father figure, the the trying to close off the mother figure, and just creating separation and wedges between the whole family, basically. And as we see this coming upright, this then starts to upfold the mother father cosmic levels, which is then sending signals downstream to the layers where the most or the main level of warfare is kind of perpetuated to send signals that we are stronger than you think and that this cannot be broken down. Na ukuriata na akia karata ya na multiple ya dorashna kia karatinya kia. So let's just allow this mother, father, child family bond to just circulate through each dimensional layer. And as it does, it rebuilds the flower of life. It rebuilds the planetary universal matrix shields. And moves the matrix through a kind of regenesis, if you will, on all of these different levels. So let's take this all the way down to the very base layer of the planet, and I'd really like to focus in on the animal kingdom as well. Here is what's really coming up. Because it's all part of the same system, it needs to be treated as oneness, as the whole family there. And we're going to reverberate this all the way down through to the subatomic ranges of the planetary system, the planetary tree of life, and in turn our own trees of life. And through the sub-elemental structures. Really, really, really nice there. Hold the imagery. Clearing out separation on every level. Bridging the oneness and the unification. And this perspective of oneness through every aspect of the planet, even the dark ones, they're still coming from God. They're still from God. They may not act like it. They may not want to be part of it. And they may be in rejection of themselves and of each other. But really, to take the higher perspective within this, we are to kind of oversee the action, the cause and effect, and come back to the perspective of God's source, where all are one. And when we can sit with this perspective and allow it to build, and see beyond their actions and our own actions where we have also been difficult or aggressive or uh, reactive, we can start to see how the trauma of the environment has impacted the way we think, the way we see, and the way we look at the world through a lens that is fractured and is separate. The belief system of trauma is one of separation. It's separation and victimization. And through the identification of this, we can then allow the transit of pain through oneness to be transmuted, to be lifted. All of the pain of the animals, whether they've been hunted, they've been having their habitats taken, they've been killed and eaten, and we're going to take this awareness through the digressive fallen race consciousness as a flurry of Christos love, sending out the echo, we don't need to be at war. We don't need to be fighting. We don't need to be against each other. And as we've taken this up into the warfare through the invaders and the invasion, we're also going to reiterate this back down in through the collective field, bringing in peace, dissolving rigidity of thought, dissociation of action. We don't need to be in opposition. We can understand each other without kicking off. We then take it back down into our own personality and family unit, where we've experienced opposition within our own family unit. Deep tears and pain through the solar plexus. Let's start to accrue back the power as we release out the pain, release out the anger, release out the fight, the conflict of interest, being able to stop, pause, and listen instead of interrupt and become fiery. Bringing in the energy of peace and compassion. pale pink roses flourish through with a sweet scent. Na kurashna kia kardiana akia madapuriasna aturasha aki. Taking the advice from the divine feminine, from the divine mother about looking for the beauty in each other, to neutralize the hot headedness of the masculine that goes into fight, that goes into protection, into defense. To allow the softness of the feminine just to step in and hold the masculine there. Any resistance within the masculine side that's holding back against the feminine that is victimized, that wants to fight, allow it to be expressed. Allow the tears that have been held back to be expressed. The part that doesn't think it's fair, the way life is, the way that things have worked out, the way that situations have been dealt with, the bitterness, the resentment. The love from the feminine soothes the masculine because he lost his way in the fight, lost his sight, and became overpowered. We reiterate up through to the false king of tyranny, into the governmental structures, into the one world order, new world order, dissolving perpetuation, dissolving greed, dissolving destruction, dissolving pride. There is a way to be free. There is a way to find peace. Recode and update. Anchor into the planetary field, update through the gate systems. And send through the ley lines. Anchor into the consciousness grids through harmonization and expansion over the planetary field to update into the collective consciousness, seeding a new way of thinking, seeding a new way of being, yet holding compassion and non-judgment and depersonalization of other people's triggers. I acknowledge the grief. I acknowledge the pain. We don't need to hold this anymore. Update and return through to source. Let's update through all fields, update through all localized grids. Seal forward through all levels or layers of light, through all bodies, and through the breath of the divine I am presence. Inhale, exhale, recode, release, and seal. And just gradually bring yourselves back into the present with a deep, old breath of love, and feel the joy, feel the peace, feel the bliss. Thank you, everyone.